conversation between Jesus Christ and Nicodemus. I'll tell it like a story so everyone can understand a little bit. This is mentioned in John chapter 3, and we know through this incident that Nicodemus is a Pharisee who wants to meet Jesus, and their meeting was happening in the late night or in the night, so it's a secret meet. So what is happening here is, first I'll brief the story. So Jesus and Nicodemus wants to meet Jesus, and he wanted to clarify certain things from Jesus about the teaching or his ministry. So being a Pharisee, even within the Bible, there are a lot of divisions. Nicodemus belongs to a Pharisee group who believes in 10 commandments. They just believe in the commandments. For them, Jesus' culture is something new. Even if you go to Jerusalem, there are different Jewish sectors. Okay, so for them, for the Pharisees, Jesus is something new. So apart from law, they don't want to take anything which comes from Jesus. So there is always a separation. But being a Pharisee and being a member in Sanhedrin, Nicodemus wants to make few things clear with Jesus. Okay, now let me talk something about the Roman culture. On that day, Jerusalem was ruled by the Romans, right? So they are the first higher authority, and the second authority was there with the Sanhedrin people. So if there is any issues or something like that, people deal with the Sanhedrin groups, and if that is not fixed or if it needs to reach the Roman authority, they will go to the Roman authority. So that's how it works. So before Nicodemus wanted to judge Jesus, or before end up saying something about Jesus, he wanted to clarify few things about the life and ministry of Jesus in this world. So Nicodemus went to meet Jesus to get to know more about Jesus, who Jesus is, what is he. First, so this communication between Jesus and Nicodemus was awesome communication. So first, Nicodemus went and acknowledged Jesus. Okay, Jesus, you are doing a good job. You are in this society, helping people, healing people, doing miraculous things in this society. So he affirmed Jesus first. He affirmed saying that Jesus, you are a good teacher. And why he wanted to say Jesus as a good teacher is because Nicodemus himself a teacher of law. But he saw few differences between the teaching which the Pharisees do and the teaching which Jesus do. When Nicodemus taught, it was something about the law. When Jesus teach, it was something about a person's life. So Jesus talked to a person, Jesus do miracles, and Jesus used the authoritative words. So he saw some difference between the teaching of Jesus and the teaching of him or the Pharisees. So first he wanted to acknowledge Jesus. Okay, Lord, you are a good teacher. First he is acknowledging, and second, Jesus is telling, if you wanted to belong to me, or if you wanted to teach like me, or if you wanted to get involved in person's life, you have to born again. What is this born again experience? Something which is new. To understand the born again concept. So yeah, born again concept is something new to Nicodemus. He started asking questions to Jesus. What is this born again experience? What are you talking about? It sounds rubbish to me. And there the proper communication is initiated. Okay, communication. Let's connect now. So before understanding this belong concept, or before understanding this born again experience, let us connect Nicodemus and Jesus. We're talking together. Let's connect. Let's understand each other. So that's how they started building up the conversation. So on the communication, I wanted to touch into this 5 part. One is listening, which most of them fail. Second is expressing, and third is interpreting. Fourth, knowing the differences, and fifth is resolving. We have disagreements. We say yes, we say no, we fight, we quarrel, but always I have this measure of love. We love. Love is the bridge between you and me as a human being. All these happens because of my understanding or learning or unlearning or cultural differences, whatever it is. But always there is a bridge between you and me, that is love. So we battle, but we overcome and come to a conclusion. We battle and then we become better in our communication. So when I read this, wow, the way Jesus handled the conversation Jesus and Nicodemus has was very good. It was awesome. Why we didn't realize this for long years? For example, if we preach in a church or if we listen to a sermon in the church, there are certain parts which a preacher likes, he picked that, he delivers, and there are some important things which we leave and we think it's not required. But if you read, reread, again reread or unlearn, and the reread completa, if we keep on doing it, and then we will understand a clear picture about what Bible talks about. Okay, let's talk about this conversation. Okay, wow. So first part, Nicodemus was listening to Jesus. A complete submission. Okay, let me listen. Because I am a teacher, Nicodemus himself is a Bible teacher, he himself is a teacher of law, but he wanted to listen from Jesus. He know the law completely because he is a part of the Jewish community, Pharisee community, who always stick to a law. They are well versed in law. But when it comes to Jesus, he sees something different. People received Jesus. People received Jesus and it is very visible. Jesus was doing miracle and it was very visible. And there is some disagreements between the Pharisees, and there is some disagreements even between Jesus and the Pharisees. So Nicodemus thought, okay, let me listen to him. Listening. So with concentration, with tolerance and with sensitivity, all these we know, I think. While listening, there will be some terms or some phrases we use which the opposite person doesn't like, because Jesus was very straightforward. But Nicodemus, he decided, okay, let me listen what this guy is telling. So first and second, expressing yourself. Verse 4. Someone can read verse 4 for me. When there is a communication, when there is a communication, we should feel or we should have some freedom. Now communicate பண்ணும்போது எனக்கு ஒரு freedom வேணும். You understand what I am saying there? That happened between Jesus and Nicodemus. Third chapter.
Nicodemus said, how can a man who is already old be born again?
Okay, see, already there is a freedom now. He saw the authority of Jesus doing miracles, wonders, but still he felt, I have some freedom to share what is there in my heart to Jesus. He directly asked. Jesus said, you have to born again. He asked, how is it possible?
How can a man who is already old be born again?
How can a man, I'm already born, I'm 36 years old now, how can I reborn? எப்படி அது நடக்கும்? How is it possible? So there was an expression, there was a freedom to express. Jesus didn't give Nicodemus that mentality of judging. He just gave an open door. Let's communicate. நீ communicate பண்ணுவா, we will talk. You understand what I'm saying, right? So second, he gave that freedom to express himself. So அதனால தான் Nicodemus is speaking this bold. How? எப்படி இது possible? How is this possible? And next, interpreting 5 to 8 verses. Let's read 5 to 8 verses. Slow படிங்க.
How can a man who is already old?
Okay, already this is a question. Nicodemus, he asked a question to Jesus, and next is the reply. And the reply தான் is an interpretation. Okay, va?
Can he go back into his mother's womb and be born second time?
Again he is asking a question. Can a man again go back to mom's womb and give birth? திருப்பி வெளியே வர முடியுமா? No, it's not possible. And then Jesus answered, believe me,
when I say that everyone must be born from water and the spirit. Anyone who is not born from water and the spirit cannot enter God's kingdom.
Okay, everyone must born again, born in water and spirit. Okay, for us, if we read this, it's something strange. Water and spirit, what? The term itself is different. Okay, because you try to understand Jesus talking to a Jewish person. When it comes to water and spirit, Jewish person can understand, okay, from what culture, what perspective he is talking about. But for Jewish people, there is always a ritual of cleansing their leg and coming to a home, and the cleansing, it was happening continuously. So yeah, that's a process. So when it comes to water and spirit, Jesus is talking about the baptism. Okay, cleanse, spirit. Okay, I think he'll give some more explanation here. Let us read that and then come to a point.
The only life people get from their human parents is physical.
Okay, Jesus started explaining, interpreting. The first life which human being gets is the body we have. We live in this world with a human body. What's again?
The only life people get from their parents is
physical.
But the new life that the Spirit gives a person is spiritual.
Okay, so he is talking about a spiritual life. Jesus is not talking to Nicodemus about a physical life. He asked, how come a person again go to mom's womb and come back? But Jesus said, I am not talking about the physical body. I am not talking about the physical body. I am talking about the spirituality. Spiritual experience I cannot feed. ஒருத்தரோட ஸ்பிரிச்சுவல் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸை நான் ஃபீட் பண்ண முடியாது. இட் இஸ் இம்பாசிபிள் டு ஃபீட் அ ஸ்பிரிச்சுவல் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ். கரெக்ட், ரைட்? ஐ cannot feed a spiritual experience to you. My spiritual experience is different. The way I experienced Jesus is different. The way you experience Jesus is different. Correct, right? It's not like giving a chocolate to you and fulfilling your needs or fulfilling your sweet desire or whatever it is. That this both physical and spiritual are different. Nicodemus was surprised about the way Jesus was dealing with people. Jesus prayed to people and miracle happened. Jesus blessed people. Jesus comforted people. Jesus counseled people. This was something unique to Nicodemus. Because Pharisees were always judging people. You should not go to temple like this. You should go like this. You have to stand here. You should not enter. Lot of questions. Lot of barriers were there. But when it comes to Jesus, the rules or the following patterns are completely different. That is what he wants to know. What is the difference? And he said, you wanted to be born again. You have to experience God. You have to experience the spirituality, which I am talking about. Again, I'll connect everything to my personal life itself. My parents accepted Jesus Christ long years back. But when I told you, right, my young life, they are not satisfied with my young life during my, adult age. I'm not good in studies, or I keep on giving them a lot of stress. So my mom, she doesn't know what to do. She'll talk to the pastor, the priest, ask them to pray, and they'll advise me. All these happen. And only one thing I have seen in my parents, my dad and mom, is they used to pray for me. So their prayer was very audible to me when I was in my room. Lord, please transform my son's life. I don't know when it will transform. I don't know what will happen to him. Please, I'm giving my son's life to you. All these prayers I'll listen. But I'll make fun here in this room. All these will happen. And there are young guys who come to our home for prayers, and I never mind them. I'll get up and go home. I'll get up and go out. So this was my life actually. I'll tell you this story so you will get connected to this area. How a person is getting that spiritual experience. And the first time I came to Bangalore as a guest speaker in Kamnahalli to some other church. And I was standing in the stage and preaching. And a lot of people were listening to my talk. I saw a person in front of me. He used to do that the woodwork. He was doing that woodwork in my native. I saw him and I surprised. And okay, the sermon finished and I came out of the church and he reminded me this thing. Arun, do you remember? Long years back, when we come to your home for prayer, we'll sit and pray and you will go out of your home because you don't want to listen to these sermons. And now you see how God changed your life. And on that day, in our room, I was thinking about this. How this happened. In the encounter, when did my life got changed? I have no clue because that's a spiritual experience. What I am trying to tell here is, Jesus just told Nicodemus, if you wanted to be like me as a teacher, you have to born again in spirit. For that, he chose the example of wind. So, I cannot feed you my experience, but I can tell, this is my experience. But your experience will with Jesus Christ will happen today or tomorrow or day after, whenever it is. But let's wait for the experience. Let's pray for one another. That's my point here. So yeah, that's what is happening here. And let's go to 9 to 16th verse. You will understand what happened. And that's the freedom, that's knowing the difference.
Nicodemus asked, how is all this possible?
How all this is possible?
Jesus said, you are an important teacher of Israel.
Jesus is addressing him. You are an important teacher in Israel. You know all about law.
And you still don't understand these things?
You don't understand these things?
The truth is, we talk about what is we know. We tell about what we have seen. But you people don't accept what we tell you. I have told you about things here on earth, but you do not believe me. So I am sure you will not believe me if I tell you about heavenly things. The only one who has ever gone up to heaven is the one who came down from heaven, the Son of Man. Moses lifted up the snake in the desert. It is the same with the Son of Man. He must be lifted up too.
Okay, so Jesus is talking something about the crucifixion. Okay, we have know the story of sowing the seed. Correct? One point says, for some person there are a lot of thorns come to their lives, and then whatever is sown, the seed is not grown because of the thorns. Yeah. So Nicodemus' life is also something like that. You were born as a Pharisee. You were brought up like a Pharisee. You were taught only the Jewish law, that too following straightforward without any interpretation. See, Jesus did not reject the law as per Bible. He didn't reject the law. The point of Jesus is, your interpretation about the law is wrong. உங்களோட இன்டர்பிரேஷன்ல தான் பிரச்சனை. Because you follow everything சொன்ன மாதிரியே அப்படியே இருக்கணும். You don't know the exact meaning of why it was written. Jesus did a miracle on the Sabbath day. சரியா? And someone in the temple came and told, why you did this miracle? In the miracle you should not do it. Because it's a Sabbath day. You have to chill. You have to be peaceful. And he said, Jesus said, you imagine if an animal is hungry on the Sabbath day, will you untie it and will you feed the water? And they said yes. And then why not here? புரிஞ்சுதா problem? So this is the problem between Jesus understanding about law and the Pharisees. These were the disagreements. When Jesus is talking about Nicodemus' mindset was like that. Because of the way he brought up, the way he taught. So they were straightforward. So Jesus gave an explanation. Okay, this is the meaning. So Jesus, why I wanted to mention here is Jesus understood the differences. He understood why Nicodemus is talking about this. Why Nicodemus doesn't want to receive this. Because the way you brought up, your culture, or நீ படிச்சு வந்த விதம் அந்த மாதிரி அதனால தான். So he is not judging, he is just trying to explain. I'll tell you Nicodemus something. Jesus is talking about his crucifixion. You are talking to me today, Nicodemus, and like how on the Old Testament incident, he is pointing out the Old Testament incident and he is telling, you will see the Son of Man will be crucified. Oh, Jesus is mentioning about his death, which is unique. I don't know when I will die. But Jesus knows that he came to die. He is telling, I will be crucified. Why Jesus wanted to mention this here? I will tell you. There is a point. Okay, now we will come to the last point. Resolving conflicts. Okay, now all these conversation where there were a lot of disagreements. Nicodemus asked a question, Jesus replied. Again Jesus said something, Nicodemus had some disagreements. So the communication was proper, but it didn't come to a conclusion. Okay, the final point is resolving conflicts. Okay, let's come to a conclusion. Out of the conversation between Jesus and Nicodemus, this beautiful verse came out, which everybody in this world knows. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Resolving conflicts. My final point, why I wanted to mention here is because resolving conflict will happen only through love. You understand, right? God so loved the world. முடிஞ்சு போச்சு, அவ்வளவுதான். Nicodemus, everybody in this world born from mom's womb, but now God so loved the world, wanted to change this world through his love. So you have to born by spirit. So you will understand things. Love resolve the conflicts. You understand what I am saying, right? We all are one family. We all have lot of disagreements. I shared Jesus Christ to a lot of people. There were a lot of disagreements. They disagree. Yes, they disagree. They have lot of disagreements. அப்போ disagree பண்ணும்போது, if I am handling things through love, I think that relationship will be proper, right? If that didn't happen between me and Mercy, innaikum we will be quarreling. You understand what I am saying, right? This is how the church structure works. I think in this handling with love or resolving conflicts, we fail sometimes. Everybody fails sometimes. So we slowly understand that. Okay, now I'll go to that point. John 19. Let's go to John 19 now. Few chapters kalichu. What happened to Nicodemus? Now Jesus is crucified. In John chapter 19, we see Jesus is crucified. Jesus is crucified, and Joseph wanted to claim Jesus' body because he wanted to do the burial. And see the involvement of Nicodemus. Nicodemus was present there. He said to Joseph, I also wanted to be a part of this. 1938 to 40. We are finishing in 5 minutes.
Later, a man named Joseph from Arimathea
Okay.
asked Pilate for the body of Jesus.
Okay, he asked the body of Jesus.
Joseph was a follower of Jesus, but he did not tell anyone because he was afraid of the Jews.
Here we see Joseph, he was following Jesus, but he didn't reveal that he wanted to follow Jesus or he is following Jesus, because my society is like that. And society I can't express, express panna mudiyala. They'll abuse or they'll even kill me. So, Nicodemus is joining hands with this Joseph now.
Nicodemus went with Joseph.
See, Nicodemus went with Joseph now. Abdina, something happened in his life now, right? The conversation between Jesus and Nicodemus was not productive on John 3. The end was not good. And the end, it's not a proper ending. They just conversed, they left. Okay, Jesus, bye. You go in your way and I'll go in my way. I'll be a part of this, whatever it is. And the reflection, the outcome, he remembered, okay, Jesus told me that he'll be crucified. And now he's joining with Joseph. This is an unexpected thing. This is what I am talking about. This spiritual transformation, we don't know. For him, it happened after the death of Jesus. We don't know. You understand what I'm saying, right? The conversation between Jesus Christ and Nicodemus, it's amazing, right? So both had a very good conversation. But this conversation in John chapter 3 is not giving a proper conclusion. It's like an unending story. But we could see something happen in John chapter 19, after a long gap. So Joseph, the secret believer of Jesus, and Nicodemus, he also joined with Joseph, and both went and claimed the body of Jesus. So what I wanted to tell you here is, it took some time for Nicodemus to understand who Jesus Christ and to accept Jesus Christ. So in our surroundings today, a lot of people have heard about Jesus Christ, but let's give some time for them to understand who Jesus is. And let's not be judgmental to the people, but let's be clear in our communication, like how Jesus was very clear in his communication to Nicodemus. And then let's pray for one another. To lead a person to Christ, or if we expect a person to accept Jesus Christ, it's a process. So let's work together, and God bless you.